Chris.
Recording. Um, so today we're going to continue with replicate. Let's take a look at our contents, just kind of a few reminders. So we are here. So we're kind of at the end of the semester. The last lecture will be next week. Okay. So that's the last lecture. If you have questions about your project, you can bring them, ask next week. Okay. And then presentations for the term project will be 2 weeks from today. And then the final exam will be 3 weeks from today. Okay. So that's what you have left. All right. Today is mostly just going over topics, wrapping up image-based transfer learning. All the other, we've looked at fast AI. We're going to look at other options, essentially. All right. So I'm going to continue with replicate. So this is the code. I added a new script, a new one that fell into my, um, into my inbox, and I finally had time to work on it. It's very easy, actually, once you know how to. So we went over all these, 1 through 5. I have added a sixth one here. So 6 text to video replicate. So this one essentially is for creating videos. So we're going to play with this. So you can actually, you know how you can do a description and create an image. Now you can do a description and create a little video with replicate. So it's very nice. And it's pretty easy, as you can see here. So we're going to need to set up our Jupyter notebook, and we're going to have to get the token, of course. So let's open up replicate here. Okay. So we're going to log in. So you can see, I should say this one is a little bit more expensive. So if you do decide to use this one, it'll, as you can see, my expense there has gone up. I think it's $1 per inference because it's not just one image, but it is now a short clip, right? So you can see it's a little bit more costly, but this can be pretty useful, certainly. Okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create the link for my tokens, and I'm going to create a new token. So I'm going to delete this one. Or actually, you know what? I can use this token, and I'll delete it at the end of class. But you'll need a token, of course. Copy it. So we're going to open the terminal. Go to Anaconda. Anaconda prompt. Okay. And we are going to Anaconda. Well, let's actually, what's that? Yeah, go to the folder. So dir. So I'm going to cd desktop. So yeah, and then dir, and then cd. So it should be its 530, and then 2025 spring. Yeah, 2025 spring. Okay. CLS dir. So here we'll probably replicate.com. So replicate.com. Okay. dir. And so I'm going to create a new notebook, but I have to set the environment, of course, and all that. So conda environment list. Okay. And we were working with, I think, Simply Learn, I want to say. Wakanda Activate, Pi 39, Pi 39, Simply Learn. Okay. Um, okay. All right. So you guys remember this really well. I need to set the token key, right? So set for Windows, I think it's uppercase API token key. Do you guys remember off the top of your heads? If you don't, maybe it's here. Nope. Set. Do I have it? I guess I have it in my GitHub. So it's replicate API token, so that should be the correct thing. Set replicate API token. So I think it looks correct. Equal, and then was it double quotes or no double quotes? You guys remember? I want to say it was double quotes, but I keep forgetting this because it's not consistent with the Mac. Right? Nobody? Don't care. All right. So we're gonna do this one. I just, I just thought this was great. You know, I advertised for my books and things like that, and I immediately created little videos, right? Little short clips of cybersecurity, machine learning. So there's definitely use for in social media. You know what I mean? Like you can create little short videos in social media. Let's say, for instance, Etsy. Etsy is I'm sure all of you have heard of Etsy. You can create your own products on Etsy, and people say instead of putting an image, put a video, right? That somehow has been studied that will increase engagement, it'll increase sales, right? So with AI like this, now you can create videos about the things that you're selling very easily, it doesn't cost you much. And what if that bumps your revenue by 15%? That's significant, right? And it costs you how much to do these things? So it's, that's the use of it right now. We are all trying very hard to figure out how to use AI, for profit, right? And so these are the applications of it currently, but it'll evolve. All right. Okay, so hopefully this will work. I have the environment, I have everything. So now I'm going to do Jupyter Notebook. And we'll continue to use the Jupyter Notebook today because even though we have to do the training, well, actually, you can do the training from a Jupyter Notebook, but in my case, I will do the training on Replicate itself with the images that I, suggested that you guys should bring. And then we'll call that model from a Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So let's do Jupyter Notebook here, and let's try it out to see if it actually invokes the model. So I played with this last week, and it worked nice. Okay, so here it is. So I'm going to create a new Jupyter Notebook. To call this one videos, vids, replicate. So vids replicate and a fine-tune model. I hope to do fine tuning of LLMs, but I just didn't have time for that on replicate. So you'll have to figure that out. Term project idea, right? If you're still stuck, figure out how to fine tune an LLM on replicate, and then you have a model that you deploy, right? So something to consider. We should, talk about that before the end of class. All right, so there we are. Now, we have it, so we can proceed to the GitHub. So I added the script, as I said, six script, pretty short. It's very easy actually to use. Just took me a bit of time to figure out. But let's import replicate. We're going to be using a model, as you can see in the dashboard. This is our dashboard, of course, where you keep track of your costs on replicate, your invoices, and so on. So we'll get a new thing. So one thing I haven't shown you is that when you click on those models, you also have what it created in a website over here. So you can get, if your images are not coming, it's helpful for debugging. Like if they're not coming into your Jupyter, you can actually, get them from here. So that's actually a video that was generated. So that's not an actual cat doing that, right? That is AI generated. So imagine you can make eventually even movies, right? Like this. So that's what we're going to try. We have to figure out a few things. So this says number of frames is 81. That can be pricey probably. But let's see. So we're going to go back to the dashboard and try it out. So I'm going to run, of course, replicate. That was installed, I believe, already. That went just really quickly. And then, they're always changing their code. So I looked at this code and I kind of like this one, simpler. That's pretty much all it takes. So it says, replicate.run. This is a new model from WaveSpeed AI, some startup, no doubt. It's a the WAN 2.1. And I was reading about it. There's several variants of this, several sizes, several size of the image, the whole thing. So like I said, I get news about these things. And then the input. So you have, of course, a prompt. I wrote some prompts for cybersecurity. So I wrote a hacker using AI to break into the CIA vault while other agents are looking at cybersecurity issues. So that was my prompt. I thought it was good. Fast mode, balance, LoRa scale. So that's an internal setting. Number of frames, 81. So you can see it's got that 81 setting, just like the cat. Aspect ratio, and then some things, sample shift, sample steps, frames per second, sample guide scan. So you can play with these parameters to see what happens. I'm just using default values. Okay. All right, so let's run this one, and then we can run a few that you guys can think of, and that gets us to warm up and start. So it's processing. Okay, didn't like it. Now, what does it say? Yeah, we had this error the last time. You need to set up billing. I think it was because of the double quotes, right? If you guys remember. So you need to set up billing to run this model. Yeah, it's probably that. So so it's not double quotes. Let's try it without the double quotes. Okay. So then we need to do this one, get rid of that one. That. Okay. Our notebook. Let's give it a second, and hopefully it'll work this time. Okay, so should be this one. All right, so we're going to try it again. Clear the kernel. Okay, so replicate. Okay, perfect. Right, so you can see that. So now we want to check the dashboard. Always keep an eye on that. So we were at 309, so 344. So not that bad, but it's definitely more than it was before, right? It's like 30 cents or something. So that was this one here 40 seconds ago. Okay, so let's see what it produces. So I believe all I had to do was, so Replicate has also this option where they have this temporary storage. So they load the image in their server, you can download it from there, but it'll go away like quickly, right? So it's just enough time for you to download it and look at it and keep it. All right, and there it is. So AI generated, does say CIA there, and that's a video created by generative AI. So that's kind of the model that's available right now. All right, let's try a couple more, and then we can move on to the next step of fine-tuning our model with our images. So any suggestions? Anybody want to try something? A woolly mammoth. Woolly, is it, oh, woolly, two L's? Or is it just one L? Two L's, right? A woolly mammoth. Okay. On the streets. On the mammoth. Yeah. Woolly mammoth. Walking on the streets of Chicago at night. Why at night? Okay. Maybe day. Just that? No, yeah, it might actually. All right. So let's see what happens. Sure. A woolly mammoth walking on the streets of Chicago's. Yeah. A woolly mammoth walking on the streets of downtown Chicago. Downtown at night. Look good? All right. Hey, let's see what happens. So let's run it. Hmm? Maybe it just a dump out on the back. Maybe. Who knows? Let's see what it does. So it's 81 frames. I assume that's 81 images that are being generated somehow. And all have this effect of movement and animation. All right. So here we go. We have an MP4. So there you go. It is definitely a woolly mammoth. And yeah, it's kind of little. Yeah, it's like a young woolly mammoth. So maybe we should say an adult woolly mammoth or a big woolly mammoth. What's that? You want a dragon? You guys prefer, okay, a woolly dragon? A large dragon. A large dragon walking on the streets of downtown Chicago. Oh, yeah, let's just see what happens. All right. Let me check my thing. 379. Hmm? Yeah, 35 cents, right? So it's not cheap. All right, so let's go ahead and run it. Large dragon walking on the streets of downtown Chicago. It's taking a while. Okay. Under the prompt that okay. It might be, yeah. So like you're saying a really large prompt, right? It might take longer. Yeah. All right, so let's see what happens. It's good, actually. Cartoonish, but pretty good, I think, and a pretty good video. That does seem like Chicago, actually, the architecture. And they added a dragon. Yeah, but still, I think that's really good. We don't know that that's a real video, actually. Could be. Hmm. It's like a panoramic thing, almost 3D. It's really good. I really like the dragon. Yeah, I agree. What's that? Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. It could be a made up building. Yeah, right, right. You can tell by the lettering. So I always go by, and these images, I always go by the lettering because it makes up languages. And so you can always kind of check by that or really weird little things. But language is always a good indicator. The car? Why? Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 I don't know. It's stuff is interesting. See, there it is. Yeah. So yeah, so there you go. That's kind of recent model that I saw loaded that was loaded on Replicate, and it allows you to create these short images. Seem to be about 100 uh, frames is the limit. All right, so let's check the dashboard again because this can be it is more expensive for 14, right? So it keeps it's gone up. All right, so now let's go ahead and do the other thing. You can play with this one, but now what you want to do is the fine tune exercise, right? So that'll be our next example. I'll close this one. We will come back to this script to invoke to invoke the model once it's trained. Training will cost about $3 or so. So let's go back to replicate. You have to have your account, your GitHub account. You click on Docs, and we're going to do this one, fine tune an image model. I know that there's an option to fine tune large language models, kind of like in 520, right? We could have fine tuned a Chat GPT or a Llama to be a Vet GPT, right? That's something you could do in this one. I did try to train an LLM the other day, but I wasn't able to get it to work fully, so I'm not able to demo it. But this one I did get to work, as you have seen. So But I do believe it's possible. So that's why I say if you're still iffy about your term project, that might be something you want to consider. Okay, if you don't have anything else. All right, so this is essentially the information, and we're just going to read through it and try to do the training on here, right? Follow the instructions. This is very GUI based. This is what I found to be the easiest to do, but they do have other approaches. Before we start reading through this one, we're just going to do this as an exercise together. Hopefully you have your images. I'll show you, I already downloaded my images. I think I put them in the downloads. So you'll need a zip file. So you can go to downloads. And in here I have data zip. So it's this one. So I think you have to load it zip. I already unzipped it. It's just some pictures that I have. So as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just some, like headshots of work and or travels and things like that. You can see different angles, from front, kind of the back, from the side is fine with things in the background and so on. So here I actually have 6 pictures. Okay, and that's essentially what you need. All right, I took them with my iPhone, which is basically how everyone else takes their pictures, right? So now let's go ahead and take a read through this document just so that we can figure out the process. So fine-tune an image model. So here are the steps. So we're the prereqs, gather your training images, choose a unique trigger word, which is what I had said, because it's, a large language model. My user are Calix. Create and train a model. And that'll take a little bit. It doesn't take that long, but it does take a few minutes. Then you stand up and stretch. Yeah, it's a joke. Then generate images on the web. Generate using the API, which is kind of how I've been doing it and what I will show you. Use a language model to write better prompts. So we've learned about this, right? That we can actually use large language models to create better prompts. Have fun and iterate. So they use this. So the Flux 0.1 family of image generation models, right? So some of you are familiar with this, the lab and everything where they make these models, they specialize in this is their thing, right? And this tool. So these are really nice. One of the models that I played with is one where I can have a picture of a cake and then change like the, happy birthday, put different names, it's like that. But this is, as you have seen, the idea is to generate images of you in various characters, but it's always kind of based on your face. So the Flux 0.1 family of image generation models produces images surpassing the quality of existing open source models. The default Flux models can create beautiful images of people, places, and things. But you can also create your own fine-tuned Flux models to generate images in a specific style or of a specific subject, or your pet, or your own face. So fine-tune Flux on Replicate is easy. You just need a handful of images to get started. No deep technical knowledge is required. So this is very close to something people sometimes call no-code AI. You can create a fine-tune entirely on the web without writing a single line of code. The community has already published hundreds of public Flux fine-tunes on Replicate, and they provide the link so you can look at those if you would like to look at other examples of interest to you, plus thousands of private fine-tunes as well. This guide will walk you through the process of creating your own Flux fine-tune using images of yourself. So you can generate novel and imaginative images of yourself as a superhero, a cartoon character, an adventurer, or just a regular person in a variety of interesting situations. So you can see these are examples riding a skateboard. I imagine all of these are AI generated. Okay. Yeah, generated by Seeky Flux Find. All right, so the prereqs, as we had discussed, here's what you'll need to get started. A replicate account, if you've created that already. A handful of training images, and $2 or $3 US, which is what it'll cost for this job to run. Gather your training images. You'll need a few images of yourself to get started. These should be high quality images of your face taken from various angles and in different lighting conditions. You can fine-tune Flux with as few as 2 training images, but for best results, you'll want to use at least 10 images or more. In theory, you'll get continually better results as you include more images in the training data, but the training process can take longer the more images you add. So consider the following when gathering your training images. All those formats are supported. Use 1024 by 1024 or higher resolution if possible. So as I said, I'm just using whatever iPhone resolution is. File names don't matter. Name your files whatever you like. Aspect ratio doesn't matter. Images can be square, landscape, portrait, etc. 10 images is a good minimum, but you guys saw I did it with 6. So, but follow this. You might get even better results than I got. So here's the author of this. And you can see he's got several angles of his face. So this is a variety is key, actually, as it turns out, right? So you can see that there. Variety is key. For best results, training images with different settings, clothing, lighting, and angles. Once you've gathered your images, put them in a zip file. So I already have them in a zip file. Assuming you put them all in a folder called data, which I already did, run this command to generate a file called data.zip. Okay. And so, you can do that with that command. I've already done it and I have it ready to go. Okay. In my downloads folder. Choose a unique trigger word. Whenever you fine-tune an image model, you also choose a unique trigger word that you'll use later in your text prompts when generating text. So you've seen me do that. Photo of our Calix looking super cool riding a Segway scooter. That's the example. Here are some things to consider when choosing a trigger word. It should be something unlike my unique trigger. Think vanity license plates, but without any length limits. It should not be an existing word in any language, such as dog, cyberpunk. It should not be toke, because obviously large language models might use that, because it will clash with other fine tunes if you ever want to combine them. Case doesn't matter, but capital letters can help visually distinguish the trigger word from the rest of the text. For the authors, Seek's fine-tune, he selected Seeky as the trigger word, as you can see in capital. So that's why I went with our Calix. Short, unique, and memorable. Once you have your trigger word, hold it in your mind for a second. You'll use it in the next step. So now in the step 3, we're going to create and train a model. Okay, there are a couple of ways to fine-tune Flux on Replicate. You can use the web-based training form or the API. In my case, I'm using the web training form. The API is great for creating and updating fine-tunes in an automated or programmatic way, but this guy just does the web form, which I found to be easier. Okay. So it says here, go to replicate.com, Flux Dev LoRa Trainer to start the web-based training process. We're going to click on that. Okay, so it's essentially something like this, a form where you fill in some data and so on. So let's keep reading through it though. For the destination input, you'll choose a model to publish to. Okay. This can be an existing model you've already created or a new model. So destination, create a new model using name below. And then I'm going to set it EU and collaborators. Yeah, so either public or private. I think I have mine as public. All right, for the input images, input, drag and drop the zip file you created earlier. So we're going to drag and drop the zip file. For the trigger word input, enter the string you chose earlier and make sure it's unique. For step, leave it at 1000. Any less, and your training process will not properly learn the concept in your training images anymore, and you could be incurring extra time and cost without improving in the model performance. You'll be billed for per second for the time the training process takes to run. Training for the Flux model run on NVIDIA H100 GPU hardware, which costs that amount at the time of this writing. So for a 20-minute training, which is typical when using about 20 training images and 1,000 steps, you can expect to pay about $185. So hopefully it'll be less than that. Once your model is trained, you can run it with an API just like any other replicate model, and you'll only be billed for the compute time it takes to generate an image. Leave the rest of the inputs at their default values and click Create Training. Okay, and then the rest is just stand up and stretch. So the training process is pretty fast, but it still takes a few minutes if you are using 10 images. And then it's just generating images on the web. So once the training process is complete, your model will be ready to run. And then I'll show you guys how to run it from the code. Okay, and then it goes into other things as well. So let's take a look at the model. Okay. So Flux Dev LoRa Trainer, create training. Training for this model run on NVIDIA H100 GPU hardware. Upon creation, you'll be redirected to the training detail page where you can monitor your training's progress and eventually download the weights and run the train model. Okay, so getting started, you can fine-tune Flux Point 1 on Replicate by just uploading some images either on the web or via the API. Select the model as your destination or create a new one by typing the name in the model selector field. Next, upload the zip file containing your training data as the input images. Set up training parameters. Once you've filled out the form, click Create Training to begin the process of fine-tuning. All right, so it said destination, right? So select a model. So select a model on Replicate that will be the destination for the train version. If the model does not exist, select the Create Model option, and a field will appear to enter the name of the new model. We will create the model for you when you create the train. So, all right, so create new model. And then I have a few things I played with, both with Llama and with Flux, but create new model seems reasonable. All right, so you can see that it gives me my user, right? So you have, this is going to be under your name, and my new model is going to be in class Flux, maybe. Right, like that. Okay. And I'll say maybe April 2025, so I don't forget. So I'm going to leave it as public there. Input images. So as it says upload a compatible file, e.g. a zip containing your training data. A zip file containing the images that will be used for training. We recommend, and it goes into all that. So, I know these images work because I've used them before. and I have them in my downloads folder. So I'm going to click on the data.zip file, click open, and there you go. It's loaded. So we've talked about that. The trigger word, I'm going to use the same trigger word I've used before, our Calix. And you guys, if you're doing this, you can use your own. Auto caption Boolean, automatically caption images using that model there. And the default is set to true. Auto caption prefix string, optional. Text you want to appear at the beginning of all your generated captions. For example, a photo of talk, right? You can include your trigger word in the prefix. Prefixes help set the right context for your captions, and the captioner will use this prefix as a context. But it's a optional parameter, so I'm going to leave it blank. Auto caption suffix, optional also. Text you want to appear at the end of your generated captions, for example, in the style of talk, and so on. So you guys can play with that if you'd like. It recommends that the number of steps should be 1,000. LoRa rank, it recommends that it should be that. Hugging Face repo ID. So Hugging Face repository ID, if you'd like to upload the train LoRa to Hugging Face, for example, that. If the given repo does not exist, a new public repo will be created. I don't have Hugging Face ID that I can think of. So HF token secret, Hugging Face token, if you'd like to upload a train LoRa, so don't have that. I don't like 1dB either. A secret has its value. Redact. Okay. Weights and bias is key if you'd like to log training progress to 1dB. Right, so I always turn that off. Flux train replicate. Weights and bias is project name. Again, only applicable if 1dB is set. Flux train replicate. Sample prompts. Only available. Okay. Show advanced inputs. Okay, so you can see the learning rate. It's 0.3004. Batch size is 1. Resolution, string, parameters, dropout rate. Optimizer is Atom, and a few other things. So I think all of these can be left as default. Very big on 1dB. Okay, all right, so create training. Click on it. Okay, so I have a wrong name there. This value may contain only lowercase letters, numbers, dashes, underscores, or periods, and may not start or end with a dash, underscore, period. So it says essentially, pardon? Yeah, lowercase, right? So I'm just going to do in class, and it does say underscore. April. Okay, so hopefully that'll work. Training. Okay, so there it is. Status, it says running. So you can see it is already running in the background. And if you look at it, it looks very familiar, right? To just code running in the background, either PyTorch or something like that. So I remember when I ran this, like the first time, it gave me an error. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Questions? No?
Got any error between of the timing? Will they charge until we get there?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think they charge you by the second. So be ready to spend a few bucks. It's not bad though. I mean, for what I get from this, no, it's not bad at all. And like I said, this is just to showcase fine tuning and replicate, not just inference. You can do LLMs. And remember, the power of this is this model is deployed. So you can run this as part of your business as long as you create like a website or app that charges money before, right? So definitely I like, and I know this is used by many, but many people. So it's good. It's good to be aware of all these things. So as I said, so it seems like it's at 7%. If you notice, it's going there. Still, I think it was using an H100, I think it said. So we'll give it a minute there. Yeah, 11% at this point. Okay. And pretty easy, right? So as you can see, it's very simple, not very complex, but it does take a little bit of time. Well, I guess hopefully it'll finish. So while this is happening, we can start going back to the Jupyter Notebook and start creating the code that we would use to invoke this per, right? So that's to complete your exercises in case you guys are trying to replicate this. So then what we would do is, which is it's already in the notes. I think my Jupyter notebooks were open already. Yeah, this one that we used for the video. So now I'm going to use this one to add, call my fine-tuned model from replicate. Okay. Let's do this one. And then we can take it from the repo. It's probably, I think, the second one. I believe it's this one. Yeah, so you can see that the example I gave, so it would be as simple as copy. So output our Calix. So I called the previous one our Calix Flux, right? And then it creates this like hash number, serial number, whatever it is. This time I think I called it in class April 2025, right? So that way, so I already have the token in there. I have my account, and then I have the model that I created with the serial number. And then I'm going to have my input and a prompt. So it'll be the same idea. Okay, and so let's see. Let's go back to see where the model is on training. 36%, so it's making progress. It's doing 374 out of 1,000 iterations. You can see it's giving you the loss value there, loss function, fitting, etc. So it's at 40%, so that's good, making progress. So now let's go back to the Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So once we've created I'm going to need some libraries for this actually. We already have replicate, but we will probably need URL retrieve. Let's just grab pill as well. Let's just grab all of them. Okay. Let's go here. right? So we got replicate pill URL lib. So this will give us an output. We grab the URL from it. That gives us res. And then we retrieve that. And this is just a code so I could download the image directly to my computer, which I felt, if it's a business, they pay you, you run the job, download the product to your computer, and then email it or something to the client. All right, so here we have res, and we're going to save it as, I'm going to give it a new name. So I don't delete the old ones. So I can say April out 4 or something like that. It's that. And then control copy like that. And so background image open. So we do need pill after all. And we open, so obviously we change the name. April underscore out, and then that should display the image. Okay, so now let's go back to training. So it's up to 60%. That's good. We can check the dashboard. Actually, to answer your question, Vinay, right? You had a question of, is it charging you now or is it charging you for the time? So we can actually look at that. Click on dashboard. So there it is. So 414. Has that changed since? No. Okay, that was the old one. So it hasn't charged me yet. It seems, right? Even though the GPU is running, it seems that it's not. I know the first time I ran this, I got an error. Maybe I just did something wrong, but I do remember it wasn't cooperating. Okay, so we're up to 68%. So hopefully we're getting there. 69, 70%. Okay. And then, are any of you trying this, like running this? None of you? You are? All right. Be nice to see what your generated images are. All right. So, but yeah, so this is pretty state of the art. I mean, before I used to do, I'll show you because that's the other script I have. That's in pure PyTorch, but I would take an image and convert it into a Monet or a Picasso, right? So we can take like the university. I think the image I have is of the university, and then we convert it into that with PyTorch. So that's pretty. That can be done also on our machine, but that's nowhere near what this can do, right? Putting your face on an image is pretty impressive. All right, so I'm hoping it'll finish. All right, so 79%. So let's give it a minute. And then we should be ready with our code here. So this should be ready once it finishes. I'm going to change the prompt since I've done that one. Well, actually, I can leave that one just to kind of see what it produces, and then we can try a couple more. Okay, so we're almost done. Let's see. So this is all the settings. So it's currently running via web, an H100. It started 11 minutes ago. This ID might be something I need to use, so it's going to tell us, but it could be that that's running. All right, so it's at 90, 2%, so almost to 100. Six. Okay. Right, 99%, 100%. So let's see what happens. Generating images, saved to output, Flux, train, replicate, optimize for PT. Okay, so something did change, right? We saw some change there. So it says the training was successful. Okay, good. You can download the weights, and then that's nice because then you build your own PyTorch architecture, load it on there. So beautiful. You can run the train model, and it gives you JavaScript, Python, etc. So, let you guys play with that if you're curious. So you can run and learn more about your train model in our web playground to start running predictions via the Replicate API. And it says this. So I'm using Python. So let me see. Yeah, so that looks familiar to what I did. So I'm just going to copy this and then modify it a little bit since I'm already set up to do this, like this here. So I'm going to Control V. Just double check that everything is the same. So yeah, output replicate.run. As you can see, our Calix in class April 2025. That's the serial for this one. It's different. And then the prompt, right? So just to kind of benchmark, I'm going to use the same prompt, but otherwise I'm going to get rid of the old one and just use this one, which I know will be more correct. So now let's go ahead and paste that in there. Okay. What's that?
No.
Double quote?
Are you that?
Say that again, sorry?
Are you in class?
I did. It's in there in the model. You see it's right there? So our Calix one, this our Calix one is my account. So it just means the model on Replicate for our Calix one called in class April 2025, and then a serial. So this is just the model name that I'm using. And then this is the prompt. I'm using, are you talking about this one here? Yeah, I'm using the same keyword. It's a different model, but it's the same keyword. They're unrelated. So it just seems like this makes sense. Got it? All right, so let's try it out. So let's see if it works. So run the libraries. You guys are following along, okay? And then let's see this model. Run it. Okay, so it's running. So this is the new model that we just fine-tuned. I mean, for me, it's a copy essentially of the old one, but for you guys, if you repeat this, it would be brand new. And it finished. If you notice, it finished, no errors. So now before we look at it, let's take a look at the dashboard. So it was at 414. Fine-tuning it cost $1.10, 11 cents. Yeah. So let me see here. Yeah, so 39 minutes ago, this is me training, right? And then it seems I've done two runs on the model, two inferences. Okay, so now let's take a look at the image, see if it's good. This is actually, um, a more recent model, so maybe it's better. You can see me there. Like you can see me there. So it's more sophisticated, I think. Here. Did you try yours? Does it work? It did? Do you mind it? Can I see? Perfect. So there you go. So you're able to put yourself in these situations, right? And that's essentially the example for this one. I'll do one more prompt. Um, I'll say our Calix as Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Let's see. All right. Okay. All right. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. And there you go. All right, so something to play with if you guys are interested in that. Yeah. So as I said, this is kind of the state of the art of replicate. It's all I'm gonna do as far as replicate. I'm done with that. I figured it's a pretty powerful tool actually. Um, let's see the cost because it did cost some money. Yeah, 527. So not too bad. As I said, you can also do, just kind of to wrap up, you guys can, run a model from Node.js. I'm sure some of you know about Node.js. I think it's like a server-side scripting language, right? Like PHP and so on. So obviously that has in mind creating web applications. And then we've done this and this already. I'm pretty sure there are additional things um, for fine-tuning large language models. That would be really great, but it's not something I did. And you guys can, if you'd like, pursue something like that on your own. Yeah, language models. You can see that there. How to use open source language models. Yeah, but anyway. All right. So I'm going to delete so that concludes this demo, right, on how to fine tune an image model in Replicate. I'm gonna go ahead and delete my tokens before I forget and before I publish this video. All right, so disable token, disable. So that essentially you can't, as far as I understand it, you cannot bring these back. So it's done. All right. So great. So we're going to move on then. I'm going to close replicate here. All right. And that's, essentially what we did. All right. So we can go back to Brightspace. So we're done with replicate.com. So I'm going to move. So object detection, I guess we did this last week, right? Some of you asked about YOLO and we kind of went over that concept. So that's a very powerful one. I think it's up to YOLO 8 or YOLO 9. And I showed you guys how that works for inference. You can do fine tuning with it as well for your own objects, but I'm going to skip that. All right, so the next thing that we're going to look at then is art style transfer. And this is an example now, kind of, going back low at the lower level of the stack. So replicate obviously was a totally GUI interface kind of an approach, but it has its advantages in the fact that the model is already deployed. Now we're going to go to art style transfer, which is something written in PyTorch, right? And so we're just doing it internally on the computer. So let's go ahead and look at that. And I might actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new video for that so that